Italy attempts to stop sub-Saharan Africans from embarking on the hazardous sea journey to Europe. Pain and panic as Nigeria rushes to contain a deadly meningitis outbreak. And swipe right. A one-of-a-kind rhino hopes to find a match on a dating app. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCorry. This is Africa 54. We begin tonight in East Africa, where at least 13 people are dead following heavy fighting between government forces and Islamist insurgents in southwestern Somalia on Tuesday. That's according to witnesses and officials. A Somali military commander has confirmed to the VOA that during the fighting, the militants ambushed a government forces convoy from nearby Baidoa town, heading to the base for reinforcements, killing at least 6 government soldiers. Now, the fighting began early on Tuesday when insurgents attacked Somali National Army base in the district of Guf Gadood. That's about 250 kilometers northwest of Mogadishu. Now, according to a witness, about 100 heavily armed militants attacked the base with rockets and heavy machine guns in fighting that lasted about 60 minutes. A statement aired by the Al-Shabaab-controlled Radio Andalus claims that it had seized control of the entire town of Guf Gadood, killing 16 government soldiers. Now, around 300 sub-Saharan African migrants stormed the 6-meter razor wire fence between Morocco and the Spanish enclave of Melilla early on Tuesday, with around 100 successfully crossing the border. Now, authorities say 3 police officers were injured and required medical attention after migrants threw stones at border security. Spain's 2 enclaves in Morocco, Ceuta and Melilla, are often used as entry points into Europe by African migrants who either climb over border fences or try to swim along the coast. Over 1,000 migrants attempted to cross into Ceuta in January, but most were returned to Morocco. Also on Tuesday, French authorities were working to clear out a refugee camp in northeast Paris. Local media reports estimate that the site housed around 1,000, mostly African and Afghan migrants. Well, in recent years, a massive wave of Africans have used the coast of Libya as a launching point in an attempt to cross the dangerous waters of the Mediterranean Sea. With each overcrowded voyage, the migrants are risking their lives, often drifting until rescued by the European Union or an NGO and ultimately arrive in Italy. But now Italy is attempting to stop other sub-Saharan Africans from reaching the sea. Details from VOA's senior analyst Jeffrey Young.
They left Eritrea, Guinea, Senegal, Mali, Nigeria, and other sub-Saharan African states on a journey to the Libyan coast of the Mediterranean Sea. From there, they faced peril bobbing in inflatable rafts and creaky little boats, waiting for rescue, and for the fortunate, a new life in the European Union. The UNHCR says that in 2016, more than 180,000 people, many departing from Libya, put into the Mediterranean, and thanks to NGOs and the EU's Operation Sophia, were rescued from the water and taken to Italy. Through mid-April 2017, another 27,000 arrived. But in February, the EU gave Libya's Government of National Accord more than $200 million to build up its Coast Guard and onshore security apparatus. The goal was to prevent people from reaching and putting into the Mediterranean. Under this initiative, Libya has rounded up African migrants and packed them into detention centers to await deportation or worse. The Washington Post newspaper describes Italy's move as a, quote, de facto migrant blockade. UNHCR's reaction is told to VOA by its North Africa media representative, William Spindler.
The problem with this approach is that it doesn't give people an alternative. What are these people going to do? Some of them cannot return to their countries of origin because they will face gross human rights violations, torture, and in some cases death if they went home.
For those detained by Libyan authorities, the situation can be brutal. The stories of those who somehow escaped detention and found rescue in the Mediterranean are recounted via Skype by Médecins Sans Frontières medical team leader Mark Learer, speaking aboard the MSF rescue ship Aquarius.
Stories that we often hear are that beatings are something that that take place regularly. In order to keep people in line, they used pipes of different materials ranging from plastic to metal, which is, we know the evidence of it because we actually see the marks on people's bodies.
Then there are African migrants in Libya who fall into the hands of human traffickers, whom numerous reports say have sold people into slavery. The story of one such woman who finally got away and was rescued is recounted via Skype aboard the MSF ship Aquarius by Mark Learer's colleague, Elizabeth Ramlow.
I remember very clearly one woman who was sold to a family, a Libyan family, to do their household chores. And she was made to work without pay in order to pay back what the family had expended for her.
And human traffickers may demand ransoms from families in exchange for the freedom of the victims. The EU-Italian plan to try to stop people from getting into the Mediterranean from Libya is commented on via Skype by the International Organization for Migration's North Africa Director, Othman Belbasi.
First, you need to control the ground to be able to talk about controlling the borders. Libya has more than 1,700 kilometers on the Mediterranean. And I don't think that this is easy to control. Also, we are talking about borders with 6 neighboring countries.
The IOM official sums it up by saying, quote, "We know for sure that you can never stop migration by tight border controls or measures. People will always find their way." And every day, more sub-Saharan Africans flee poverty, drought, hunger, and violence by making the long, dangerous trek to the Mediterranean. Jeffrey Young, VOA News.
Well, Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has left the country for medical checks in Singapore, according to a government statement issued Tuesday. This comes about 2 months after his previous search trip to the Southern Asian nation. Now, Mugabe, 93, is the only leader the Southern African country has known since independence in 1980. His health is a hot topic ahead of next year's presidential election. The Minister of Information says Mugabe flew to Singapore late on Monday, but is expected to return home over the weekend. Mugabe now struggles to walk with security aides forming a human shield around him in public, often making it difficult for reporters to film or take pictures of him. Returning to Europe, a reaction to the French presidential election continued to pour in as newly elected President Emmanuel Macron, whose business-friendly vision of European integration defeated Marine Le Pen, the far French nationalist who threatened to take France out of the European Union. VOA's Mariama Diallo reports.
In Germany, newspaper headlines read, "It's a boy. The winner is Europe." Some commuters reacted with relief, while others were less overjoyed that Emmanuel Macron was the only alternative.
I think it's sad that it had to be decided like this because Macron wasn't who everyone wanted to vote for. But for Europe, it's a good thing, and thank God it's not Le Pen.
German Chancellor congratulated Macron personally by phone.
Emmanuel Macron
carries the hopes of millions of French people and also of many people in Germany and the whole of Europe. He ran a courageous pro-European campaign. He stands for openness to the world and firmly behind a social market economy.
Baltic prime ministers with their Polish counterpart in the Estonian capital Tallinn also welcomed Macron's victory.
The result shows that a unified Europe, a developing Europe, a safe Europe based on principal values, based on human rights, has a future.
At a campaign event in London, British Prime Minister urged voters to allow her a Macron-style mandate to strengthen hand in the Brexit negotiations.
We must make sure that in the UK we also have a strong mandate to take a strong position into our negotiating table.
In the United States, President Donald Trump took to Twitter to congratulate Macron on his big win and says he looks very much forward to working with him. The newly elected president won 66% of the vote But the big challenge lies ahead for someone who was relatively unknown to the French public 5 years ago.
Une nouvelle page de notre longue histoire s'ouvre ce soir.
Via Skype, Eric Bradberg.
So his next domestic challenge will be to secure enough seats in the parliament and then later on in the Senate to have enough domestic support from the legislative branch so that he can also implement some of the reforms that he's promised.
Bradberg says we will find out more about Macron's style and leadership qualities soon, as he'll be on the world stage in the NATO and G7 summits later this month. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Well, back in the United States, it has been 6 months since Donald Trump was elected as the 45th president of the United States in one of the most divisive political campaigns in American history. Now, Trump reigned as a political disruptor, but he has struggled to make major progress in his early months of his presidency. Now, meanwhile, opposition Democrats continue to wrestle with their new role after controlling the White House for 8 years. Here's VOA's Jim Malone.
The President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. Celebration time at the White House after President Trump and congressional Republicans claim an early victory in their quest to replace President Barack Obama's signature health care law.
The ayes are 217, the nays are 213.
The measure faces an uncertain fate in the Senate, but House approval was a moment of triumph for a new president often frustrated during his early days in the White House.
Short period of time. How am I doing? Am I doing okay? I'm president. Hey, I'm president. Can you believe it, right?
But Trump has faced a steep learning curve. He followed through in his promise to appoint a conservative to the Supreme Court, but continues to face obstacles on tax reform, government spending, and health care.
What fun that was, November 8th. Wasn't that a great evening? Do you remember that evening?
Even as Trump still boasts about his stunning victory, his presidency has fired up grassroots opposition and Democrats in Congress.
Vote them out! Vote them out!
Democrats say millions could wind up losing health insurance under Trump's plan. And House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi warns that Republicans could pay a political price in next year's midterm elections.
Some of you have said, well, they'll fix it in the Senate. But you have every provision of this bill tattooed on your forehead. You will glow in the dark on this one.
Trump came into office vowing to disrupt the political establishment. But turning that into presidential action has been difficult, says analyst John Hudak.
Getting elected and governing are two very different things. And so the least experienced president in American history came to office and surrounded himself by people who lacked experience in federal public management, federal policymaking, federal lawmaking. And so that creates a perfect storm for Mr. Trump.
During last year's presidential campaign, Trump often bragged about his deal-making abilities. That will now be put to the test, says William Galston.
In the last analysis, I think that Trump's desire to be a winner may, in fact, overcome all of his other instincts.
As a businessman, Trump was used to getting his way. But now, even with the enormous power of the presidency, Donald Trump is finding out just how difficult politics can be, even for a political disruptor who shocked the nation and the world with his victory a mere 6 months ago. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. And also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCorry. Coming up, combating a deadly meningitis outbreak on the continent. Stay with us.
Science and technology, here's what's new.
How would you like to show off your cooking skills and make money? Maybe make some new friends, all in the comfort of your own home? Well, you can. There's an app for that. It's called Taste Please, and it lets anyone, anytime, anywhere, be a host or a guest at a dinner party, basically for strangers. Copenhagen resident Morgan Thomas uses the app.
It gives me a chance to kind of test out my new crazy recipes, you know, meet new, hopefully like-minded people, but also learn from other people. Because at the end of the day, food smashes down all barriers and brings people back down to the basics.
The Taste Please app allows hosts to set their event's price and view interested guest profiles before accepting them. Guests can write a review of their experience and, if they're not happy, request a refund. Taste Please is available in 190 countries and 14 different languages. For VOA's What's New, I'm Todd Grosshaus.
Well, it's time now for our health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Madu with details on a meningitis outbreak in West Africa. Lino.
That's right, Vince. And the Nigerian Health Ministry has reported thousands of meningitis cases in the northern states, Zamfara, Kebbi, and Sokoto since November 2016. This is Nigeria's worst outbreak of the disease since it killed more than 2,000 people in 2009. Officials have launched a massive vaccination campaign and is conducting house-to-house searches to provide treatment to those who are sick. Meanwhile, aid organizations like Médecins Sans Frontières are working with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control to contain the outbreak. Meningitis causes swelling in the brain and spinal cord and can kill within hours. The bacteria is highly contagious and is spread through close contact with the victim. U.S. health officials say the mysterious illness that has killed 13 people in Liberia came from a bacteria that can lead to meningitis. At least 31 cases have been discovered in the last 2 weeks. 13 have died. Samples from 4 of the fatalities were sent to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention after Liberian medical officials were stumped. But the CDC could not say for sure if meningitis caused the death. Liberian officials say most of the 31 patients infected attended the April 22nd funeral of a religious leader in Sinoe County. Now, government health officials in Mombasa County, Kenya, say more than 100 people have been infected with dengue in Kenya's coastal city of Mombasa. Authorities say the disease has spread to different parts of the county, with cases confirmed in major hospitals. Health authorities say students are most affected by the mosquito-borne tropical disease. Officials and schools are working together to clear the mosquitoes' breeding sites. In addition, an awareness campaign is underway to inform people of various preventive measures. Dengue is transmitted by the female mosquito of Aedes aegypti, the same species that transmits yellow fever and the Zika infection. The dengue infection causes a flu-like illness and can be lethal. The disease is more prevalent in crowded areas that are unhygienic. Now in Rome, residents concerned about air quality may soon be able to use a smog tracker to monitor pollution levels as they travel around the city. A device is being tested that indicates which parts of the city have good or bad air quality. VOA's Deborah Block has more.
The smog tracker, called Monica, keeps people informed about air quality levels as they move throughout Rome. The idea is to help them choose places where the air is cleaner. The device can be placed on a bike or baby stroller. Monica was developed by scientists at INEA, Italy's National Agency for New Technologies, Energy, and Sustainable Economic Development.
Monica's signal is transmitted to an interface for users via a mobile phone app. The interface allows air concentration levels to be monitored in real time and features an index about air quality. This allows the user to immediately know the air quality they are breathing in. The phone gives a geographical reference to that signal, building a map according to the path traveled in the city. The path features different colors according to the air quality, green for great air quality, and as the quality progressively gets downgraded, it turns to red.
Monica's sensors can track several air pollutants.
This system is equipped with 4 electrochemical sensors that allow it to monitor concentrations of carbon monoxide, nitrous gas, and ozone, together with temperature and humidity.
The researchers hope the smog tracker will raise awareness of Rome's pollution problems.
People themselves can offer answers with their own behavior in traffic by using private instead of public transportation, or turning on the heat in their homes at certain times.
Although the technology is currently designed for biking or walking, the Italian researchers are working to make it available for people who are running or driving a car. Deborah Block, VOA News, Washington.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter @LenorMoudou. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, thanks a lot, Lenore. Now be sure to watch Lenore Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. And it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. A unique single white male looks for a match on Tinder. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Somalia, at least 5 people were killed when a car laden with explosives rammed into a cafeteria in the center of the capital, Mogadishu. In Kenya, at least 6 people, including 4 children, were killed in Mombasa after a hospital wall collapsed under heavy rain. In South Africa, residents protest due to a lack of housing and jobs and continue to pressure the government to deliver on its promises. In Nigeria, some of the Chibok schoolgirls held captive for 3 years by Boko Haram refused to be part of the group of 82 girls freed over the weekend. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Now, forget 3D printing. This noisy knitting device uses digital technology to seemingly print knitted garments within a few hours. It was created by London-based startup Knitrate. Users create their garment designs with Knitrate's software or similar digital design programs. They're then inserted into the machine using a memory card, and users simply press go to begin the knitting process. Knitrate uses hundreds of computer-controlled needles to create the loops needed to knit garments. The machine is currently in the final stages of online crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. Well, next up, where's Yeezy? Kanye West has apparently deleted his Twitter and Instagram accounts. Both accounts went dark sometime Friday for unknown reasons. A representative of the rapper did not immediately respond to an email asking for comments today. West did not attend the Met Gala on Monday evening. His wife, Kim Kardashian West, was there with her sisters and said her husband was at home. In November, West was admitted to UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles for sleep deprivation and exhaustion. Now, the next month, the rapper made a highly publicized visit to the then president-elect Donald Trump at the Trump Tower. He explained the visit in a series of tweets, but later deleted them. Well, and finally, on the outskirts of Copenhagen, this towering 9-meter facility could be changing the way people think about gas. It's the first full-scale power-to-gas plant by Munich-based clean tech startup Electrocare. Power-to-gas is a technology that converts excess electrical power to a gas fuel using electricity to split hydrogen and oxygen from water and then combining the hydrogen with carbon dioxide to form methane. In October, Electrocare announced plans to build a second power-to-gas plant in Hungary. The company hopes to have plants with more than 1 gigawatt of capacity running by 2025. And that is what is trending today. Now, the dating app Tinder has changed the way people around the world meet. Forbes magazine named it the world's hottest app, and the Tinder website claims to have matched 10 billion people. If it works for people, why not try it for rhinos? Now, viewers Caroline Turner has more.
Like many people using the Tinder dating app, Sudan the rhino loves the outdoors and travel. The catch? He's the world's last male white northern rhino, and he's desperately seeking a female to mate with. His profile tells it all. I don't mean to be too forward, but the fate of my species literally depends on me. I perform well under pressure. Conservationists are hoping that Sudan's Tinder profile will help them raise enough money for a $9 million fertility treatment. After all, attempts at getting him to mate naturally have failed.
Rhinos weigh about 2 tons. They're semi-wild, they're not domesticated. And in order to be able to do this, we have to develop techniques to remove eggs, oocytes, from the 2 remaining females. We have to then mature those eggs, which in itself is a very difficult thing to do for various reasons which I don't need to go into. Fertilize those eggs with stored semen. Luckily, there's quite a lot of stored northern white rhino semen around the world in various zoos to create an embryo, successfully freeze and store that embryo, and then in time find a technique to reintroduce that embryo back into surrogate southern white rhino females, because the 2 northern white rhino females are incapable of conceiving.
All 3 white rhinos at Old Pajetta Conservancy are accompanied by 24-hour armed guards. A swipe on Sudan's Tinder profile, available in 190 countries and 40 languages, directs users to the Old Pajetta donation page. Just hours after he went online, the number of hits was so high that the website crashed. Carolyn Turner, VOA News, Washington.
Well, it's now expected that a president will write a best-selling book, usually an autobiography, after leaving office. But Bill Clinton's latest work is promising to be more thrilling than most. Now, the former president is collaborating with best-selling novelist James Patterson on a fiction thriller, The President is Missing, set to be released in June 2018 as an unusual joint publication from rivals Alfred A. Knopf and Little Brown and Company. In a statement released Monday through the publishers, Clinton said working on a book about a sitting president has been a lot of fun. Patterson himself issued a statement saying, working with President Clinton has been the highlight of my career, and that Clinton's insight will give readers an inside look into what it's like to be president. Patterson has built a reputation as a fiction factory thanks to his extensive collaboration on books, which have also made him one of the most prolific authors in the world. And that is our show for today. Now be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC. That's Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A cannon used to be a common military weapon.
Loose cannon.
So, are Anna and Jonathan talking about an old battle?
Hey, I'm looking for someone to host a political event tomorrow night. Can your friend Sylvia help out?
Sylvia? She's a loose cannon. You never know what she's going to say. She could easily